All right. Next up, Grant Dawson, big UFC prospect coming into play here. And I think this is a great fight for him. I think Leonardo Santos, right? Who remembers this guy just takes time off, comes back. Like he's looked so good when he fights, but he just doesn't fight that often. It's one of those things where you kind of wish you saw him fought more because he's just got so much credibility, right? In terms of tough and being the reason Jose Aldo even basically had a chance to fight, right? Being roommates and helping him, putting him up in his own home, all that kind of stuff, being roommates. These guys are like best friends. And that's where I always remember Leonardo Santos. But, when you look at the way he fights, it's like 18-3. The guy's put on some really, really good fights. I mean, hasn't lost since 2013 against Santiago Ponzinibbio when they fought on The Ultimate Fighter. So little things like that, right? We're talking about wins over Kevin Lee, Adriano Martin, Stevie Ray. These are really credible fighters. And I think that right now, when you even go through his record, it's kind of funny because you can also see like a historical representation of the UFC in a funny way. But I think that's where he's kind of met his match here, right? Grant Dawson, 16-1. I do believe that this guy's the real deal. I mean, he fights out of glory. I just, when I'm looking at his previous fight against the Nader Money fight, he dominated, right? I think all of his fights leading up to their Dana White Contender Series and on, he's just looked like the real deal. He can do it all. I think when you look at even the stats and comparisons, I mean, there is a bit of a size and reach advantage on Leonardo Santos' side, but this kid likes to throw volume and he's got some skill across the board. I just think that when you look at skill and you look at the people he's fought in the past, that's where, if you want to pick a bit of an underdog, Santos has a lot of credibility to his name. He's going to be a great grappler for this fight. And when you look at the striking accuracy, I mean, 44% to the 47% on Grant Dawson's side. And, we've seen Santos knock some guys out with that sneaky Brazilian jiu-jitsu power that seems to exist in. His 88% takedown defense is going to come into play here. So the way I see this is, Grant Dawson, he likes to get in there and he's going to be able to mix it up as an MMA fighter. But I think he's about to experience a very surprising type of fight because when you look at what Leonardo Santos can bring to the table, it's actually a lot of the stuff you don't want to see if you're Dawson, right? Like you want to be able to dictate pace. You want to be able to take a guy to the ground if you really want to. Do some ground and pound, maybe work in that guillotine choke that you love so much. I think, rear naked choke that you love so much. But I do think that that's where you're kind of in a new playing field, right? Like we're going through all of his fights right now. We can see the Mike Truzanos, the Derek Minners, and the Adrian Diaz's and Juliana Rosas of the world. But these are not the Leonardo Santoses of the world. And even at 41 years old, when you think about the fact that he even fought last year in July, the man basically fights once every year and just took a huge hiatus between 2015 and 2019. So we're seeing him come in once in a year. And I'm actually very much looking forward to this fight because I think everyone is on Grant Dawson. But, when you compare what Santos has been able to do, and that too over the last couple of years, still rack up a couple wins, it's going to be a lot closer than I think people want to believe. And I look forward to this one because if Dawson pulls this off, I think his next fight is going to be very much in the top 10. I think we're going to see him take on a much bigger name so they can line up kind of, the next crop of fighters to fight for these titles because I think he's going to be a name that we remember.